My wife and I divorced after I found out she had hidden $250, $0 in overseas accounts, and forged my signature to sell our family home. Now she's claiming I owe her half the proceeds while secretly planning to sue me for emotional damages and custody of our kids. I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing about how my wife turned out to be a complete scam artist and a cheat. Honestly, I thought we had a solid life. 2 kids, a nice house, decent jobs. But that illusion shattered faster than I could blink. The craziest part, the moment I found out she'd been hiding $250, $0 overseas, forging my signature to sell our family home, and then lying through her teeth about everything. It was like some bad soap opera, except it was real life. And the most shocking thing, I had no idea she was sleeping around too. It all started with little signs, late nights, secret phone calls, her being overly defensive when I questioned her about money or where she was going. But I never suspected she'd be capable of such deception. It all came crashing down one evening when I was cleaning up the study. I'd always kept a close eye on our finances, but lately she'd been weird about it. She'd delete messages, hide her phone, and seemed more anxious than usual. I'd noticed her withdrawing from the kids, snapping at me over small things, and her phone pinged constantly with strange messages. I thought she was just stressed from work or something. But then I found a hidden folder on her laptop, password protected of course, and curiosity got the better of me. I entered the password I'd seen her use before, and what I found made my stomach drop. There were emails from some offshore bank, statements showing hundreds of thousands of dollars in accounts I'd never heard of. I saw transfers, wire instructions, and even a note from her that said, "This is our safety net just in case." My hands started shaking. I felt betrayed on a level I can't even fully describe. How long had she been hiding this? Why was she squirreling away money like this? I looked further and found a series of forged signatures. She'd somehow managed to get the title to our house transferred to her name, then sold it without my knowledge. I felt numb, like the ground had shifted beneath me. All the years we'd spent building this life, and she'd been secretly planning her escape with my money, my house, and my trust. That night I confronted her. I knew I had to. I sat her down in the living room, trying to keep my voice steady, but inside I was boiling with anger and disbelief. What the hell is going on? I found out about the overseas accounts. I saw the emails. Did you sell the house behind my back? Her face twisted into a sneer, and she started calling me paranoid, accusing me of being controlling and insecure. She said she only wanted to protect her future, that I was too blind to see her struggles. She lied about everything, said the money was a gift, that I had no right to question her. But I knew better. I knew she'd been lying to me for months, maybe longer. Her reaction was infuriating. She called me crazy, told me I was imagining things, that I was overreacting because I was insecure about her success. She said she loved me, but then she accused me of snooping and being jealous of her freedom. I felt my blood boil. How could she sit there and lie so effortlessly? Watching her spin her stories, I realized this wasn't just about money. It was about control, betrayal, and her complete disregard for what we built together. I was hurt, furious, and utterly stunned. I couldn't believe the woman I married, the one I trusted with everything, was capable of this level of deception. That night I couldn't sleep, knowing I'd been played for a fool, and I had no idea how to fix this mess. The next few days were a blur of anger, confusion, and a strange sense of numbness. I kept replaying that night over and over, her sneering face, the lies she spat out, the way her eyes darted around like she was trying to hide something even bigger. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. All those years I thought we were solid, that we were partners. Turns out she'd been planning her escape while I was working late or coaching our son's little league team. It was like discovering a whole life she'd kept hidden from me, and I had no idea how to process it. I started digging into her phone and computer more, trying to find out what else she'd been hiding. That's when I stumbled upon the emails with the offshore bank. More than just the savings, there were planning emails, instructions on how to hide money, how to forge signatures, even a plan to sell the house. She'd been orchestrating this for months, maybe longer. And the worst part, she forged my signature on the sale documents. I couldn't believe she'd do something so blatant, so outright illegal. I felt a mixture of rage and helplessness. I wanted to scream to break something, but I knew that wouldn't help. I had to stay calm, figure out my next move. It was then I realized she'd been cheating on me. I found evidence, text messages, explicit photos, even a hotel reservation confirmation. Her lover was some guy named Jake, a young guy from her work. She'd been sneaking around for months, meeting him late at night, lying about working late or meeting clients. Seeing those messages made my stomach turn. I'd always suspected she was having an affair, but seeing proof made it real. That was the final straw. It wasn't just financial betrayal, it was emotional. Physical, everything. I felt so stupid for not noticing sooner, for trusting her so blindly. When I confronted her again, this time with everything I'd uncovered, she lost her temper. She called me paranoid, accused me of spying on her, and then threw in some classic blame shifting. "You're just insecure," she spat. "If I wanted to cheat, I would have done it long ago. You're just jealous because I'm successful." She kept insisting she loved me, but her words felt hollow. Her tone was bitchy, dismissive, like I was some obstacle she needed to get rid of. She claimed I was overreacting, that I was making a big deal out of nothing. But I knew better. I saw the truth in her eyes. She had been lying, cheating, stealing from us, and she didn't care about the damage she'd caused. That's when I decided I couldn't stay silent anymore. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I started planning my next steps, consulting a lawyer, gathering evidence, thinking about what I wanted. I knew I had to protect myself and my kids from her manipulations and lies. The hardest part was the emotional toll, knowing the woman I'd loved and trusted had turned into someone so cold, so calculating. I felt betrayed on every level. I'd worked so hard to build our life, and she'd been secretly tearing it apart behind my back. Every conversation, every moment in the house now felt like walking on eggshells, waiting for her next move. I never thought I'd be in this position, divorcing, feeling like I'd lost everything I once cared about. But I also knew I couldn't let her get away with it. I had to fight for what was mine, for my kids, and for whatever shred of dignity I had left. The realization hit me hard. I was going to have to take her to court, expose her lies, and make her face the consequences of her actions. I didn't want revenge exactly, more like justice. But I knew in my gut this was only the beginning. Over the next week, everything escalated quickly. I hired a lawyer, someone who specialized in financial crimes and complicated divorces. We started pulling together all the evidence, bank statements, forged signatures, the emails, even the hotel receipts from her trips with Jake. It was a mountain of proof, and honestly, it made me sick to see how deep her lies went. She'd been planning this for months, maybe longer, while pretending everything was fine. The more I uncovered, the more I realized how much she'd manipulated not just me but the entire situation. Meanwhile, was still acting like the victim. She started claiming I was overreacting, that I was paranoid, that I was trying to control her. She called me insecure and jealous, even accused me of cheating myself, something I couldn't even entertain. She'd throw tantrums, scream at me in front of the kids, and spin stories about how I was the one ruining the family. It was infuriating. She'd always been the bitchy, manipulative type, and now it was on full display. She'd lie about her whereabouts, deny everything, but I had the evidence to prove otherwise. One night, she had the audacity to sit me down and tell me I owed her half the proceeds from the house sale. Said she deserved it because she had to make sacrifices, and that I was just a jealous, insecure man who didn't appreciate her. I looked at her, incredulous. She was trying to spin the entire situation into some kind of victimhood for herself. She even claimed she was going to sue me for emotional damages and custody of the kids. That's when I realized this wasn't just about money or infidelity. It was about her trying to ruin me completely. She'd gone full-blown manipulator, and I knew I had to stand my ground. I started to see her true colors more clearly. She was bitchy, entitled, and utterly ruthless when it came to protecting her interests. She'd lie in your face and then turn around and accuse you of lying. She was good at twisting things, making herself look innocent while throwing dirt on me. The more I thought about her plans, the angrier I got. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. How did I miss all these signs? How did I let her get away with this for so long? I felt betrayed not just by her actions but by my own trust, my own feelings, my entire sense of stability. But I wasn't going to just roll over. I knew I had to be strategic. I started secretly recording her, just in case, and gathering more evidence of her lies and manipulation. I reached out to friends and family too. Get their support because I knew this was going to get ugly. Was already talking about taking me to court for custody. She wanted full custody, claiming I was an unfit father because I was too controlling. That was laughable, considering her own track record. I couldn't believe how far she was willing to go. She was trying to turn everyone against me, painting herself as the wronged wife, while secretly planning her next move. I also learned she'd been secretly seeing Jake on weekends, sneaking out late, and lying about her whereabouts to the kids. That was the moment I realized she didn't care about them or our marriage anymore. All she cared about was her own escape plan, her money, and her new life with Jake. It made me sick to think she'd been using the kids as pawns, pretending to be a loving mother while behind the scenes. She was just planning her future with another man. I couldn't let her get away with it. I was determined to fight for my rights, for my family, and for my dignity. Every day I felt more exhausted, more betrayed, but I also felt a strange clarity. This wasn't just about money or infidelity. It was about her complete disregard for everything we'd built together. I knew I had to stay strong no matter what. The coming battle would be messy and she'd try every trick in the book to win, but I was ready. I had the evidence, the legal support, and most importantly, I had my kids. No matter what happened, I wasn't going to let her ruin their lives or mine. I just wish I'd seen her true nature sooner. The court proceedings started sooner than I expected. Was relentless. She hired her own lawyer, and her whole strategy seemed to be about painting me as the villain. She twisted everything, calling me controlling, emotionally unstable, and claiming I was the one cheating and hiding money. She even tried to use her emotional damages as leverage, threatening to sue me if I didn't give her half of the house sale proceeds, which she claimed she deserved because she sacrificed so much. Honestly, her words made me sick. She was so bitchy and manipulative, spinning stories to justify her betrayal. Meanwhile, I kept gathering evidence. I had recordings, emails, bank statements, and witness testimonies from friends who saw her sneaking around with Jake or noticed her secretive behavior. I also hired a private investigator to confirm her trips, her meetings, and her secret plans. When the pie came back with photos of her meeting Jake at that hotel, my blood boiled. She'd been lying to everyone, me, the kids, her family, for months. Seeing those photos made it all real. She was cheating, stealing, lying, and planning her escape while acting like the perfect wife. The judge, of course, wanted to see everything laid out clearly. When my lawyer presented the evidence of the forged signatures, the secret accounts, and her affair, her face turned pale. She tried to deny everything, but it was useless. The proof was damning. I could see her trying to manipulate the judge, but I knew my case was solid. Still, played her part well, crying fake tears, claiming she was just trying to protect her future, that she was the real victim here. Her bitchy attitude was on full display. She was furious when the judge ordered her to turn over the documents related to the sale of the house and the offshore accounts. Meanwhile, she kept insisting I owed her half the proceeds from the house sale. I was stunned. She'd forged my signature to sell our family home behind my back, and now she's claiming I owe her money. It was so twisted. She even tried to argue that I was emotionally abusive, trying to get the court to award her full custody of the kids. That was laughable. I was a good dad, never missed a school event, always put my family first. But's plan was clear. She wanted to destroy me financially, emotionally, and legally. She was willing to do anything, even if it meant dragging me through the mud. The courtroom was tense. I could see the disdain in her eyes, the bitchy smirk she'd wear when she thought she was winning. But I also saw the cracks in her facade. Her lies were unraveling. The judge was scrutinizing every piece of evidence, every word she said. I felt a strange mix of hope and dread. Hope because I knew I had the truth on my side. Dread because she was so cunning, so manipulative, I knew she'd fight dirty. In the end, I realized that this wasn't just about the money or even about the house. It was about her trying to control everything, her lies, her affair, her future, while I was left to pick up the pieces. I knew she'd try to turn the court against me, but I was prepared. I'd done everything by the book, and I refused to let her ruin my reputation or take my kids away. The judge ordered her to provide all the financial documents, and I could tell she was furious. That bitchy smirk was replaced by a look of pure contempt. I just sat there feeling a mix of relief and anger. This fight wasn't over, but I knew I was winning the battle, at least for now. As I walked out of the courthouse that day, I felt a strange sense of clarity. I'd been betrayed on every level, but I was still standing. I'd lost a lot, my trust, my wife, my sense of security, but I hadn't lost everything. And I was determined to rebuild, to make sure paid for what she'd done. The worst was behind me, or so I thought. Little did I know, that was only the beginning of what was coming next. After the court hearing, I thought I'd finally get some breathing room, that the worst was behind me. But's bitchy, manipulative side didn't disappear. No, she doubled down, trying to spin everything in her favor. She started calling friends, family, anyone who would listen, claiming I was the bad guy, an angry, controlling husband who was trying to keep her from her rights. She insisted she deserved half the proceeds from the house, even after forging my signature, because she'd sacrificed so much for the family. That was her new angle, playing the victim, trying to sway public opinion against me. Meanwhile, she was still secretly planning her next move. I found out she'd been lining up a lawyer to sue me for emotional damages, claiming I'd been abusive and neglectful to the kids. She even started a smear campaign, telling mutual friends that I was an unfit father and that I'd been controlling and manipulative. It was all part of her plan to take full custody, to make me look like the villain. I could see it coming, and it infuriated me. She was bitchy and relentless, and she was willing to destroy everything, our family, my reputation, anything, to get what she wanted. I was exhausted, emotionally drained, but I refused to back down. I had proof, more than enough, that she'd been lying and manipulating from the start. I kept gathering evidence, recording her phone calls when I could, and even hearing my own private investigator to keep tabs on her. The more I learned, the angrier I got. She'd been secretly meeting Jake, lying to the kids about her whereabouts, and even trying to get a job with a firm that could help her take me for everything I was worth. She was scheming, bitchy, and ruthless, and I was sick of her games. I also started to realize how much her betrayal had affected me. I'd always been the stable one, the dependable husband, the guy who worked hard to keep everything afloat. But now I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I'd trusted her with my life, and she'd turned around and stabbed me in the back. The emotional toll was heavy. I'd wake up in the middle of the night with a knot in my stomach, wondering if I'd ever trust anyone again. But I also knew I had to stay strong for myself and for the kids. I couldn't let her drag me down into her chaos. Her plans to sue me for custody were getting more aggressive. She hired a new lawyer, one known for aggressive tactics, and started filing motions. She claimed I was abusive, that I'd neglected the kids, and that I was trying to control her. It was all lies, but I knew how this game worked. She'd throw everything she could at me, hoping something would stick. I stayed calm, focused on my legal strategy, and continued documenting everything. I knew her bitchy attitude, her sneering, manipulative ways, would eventually catch up with her. One day she tried to turn the kids against me. She told them I didn't love them, that I was mean and controlling, and that she was the only one who cared. Hearing her lie to her own children made my blood boil. I sat them down later, explained things as honestly as I could, and reassured them that I loved them. It was heartbreaking to see her use the kids as pawns, but I refused to let her succeed. I knew her bitchy, entitled attitude was her way of trying to hold on to power, but I also knew the truth would come out. In the end, I realized this case wasn't just about money or infidelity. It was about her trying to destroy me, to rewrite our entire story for her benefit. But I was done being the victim. I'd fought hard, and I was determined to protect my reputation, my kids, and myself. I knew she'd keep fighting, keep spinning lies, but I also knew I had the truth on my side. And that gave me the strength to keep going, no matter how much she tried to poke holes in my armor. I just hoped it was enough to finally put this nightmare behind me. By the time everything was winding down, I'd learned a lot about betrayal, deception, and the kind of person someone becomes when they're willing to throw everything away for greed and selfishness. This bitchy, manipulative attitude had been on full display from the start, and seeing her try to spin her lies in court, to turn everyone against me, was almost too much to bear. But I also learned something else. No matter how much someone lies or manipulates, the truth has a way of coming out, and I had done everything possible to make sure it did. The final court ruling was a relief. I got full custody of the kids, the house was ordered to be sold, and was held accountable for the forged signatures and hidden accounts. She was furious, but I didn't care. Justice had been served, and I finally felt like I could breathe again. The money she'd stolen, the lies she'd told, the affair she'd hidden, it was all out in the open now. I could finally start rebuilding my life, free from her bitchy manipulations and constant scheming. Looking back, I realize how much this whole nightmare has changed me. I used to be trusting, maybe even naive, thinking that love and honesty were enough. Now I see the world a little clearer. People can be so selfish, so ruthless, and sometimes the only way to survive is to fight back hard. I learned to be cautious, to protect myself and my kids, and to never let anyone manipulate me again. It's a bitter lesson, but one I needed. As for I don't know where she is now, and honestly, I don't care. She's probably planning her next move, but I've cut all ties. The only thing that matters is my kids' happiness and safety. I've learned that true strength isn't just about fighting. Sometimes it's about knowing when to walk away and rebuild. I hope anyone reading this who's going through something similar understands that you're not alone, and that justice, even if slow, will come. Trust your instincts, document everything, and never let someone's bitchy attitude or manipulative lies make you doubt yourself. This experience has left scars, but it's also made me stronger. I know now that betrayal can come from the people you trust most, but it doesn't have to define you. You can rise above it, learn from it, and come out of the darkness into a better place. I'm still healing, still rebuilding, but I'm finally free. And that's all I ever wanted.